And now Rick, and I'm really pleased that actually we've managed to get a librarian to come along and talk and give us their perspective, because I think that's going to be a very interesting perspective indeed.
The wonder of getting me to talk is it's not so much in getting me to talk, it's in getting me to stop talking. But that said, I have a fairly brief presentation today because the problem that I'm talking about I think can be described pretty succinctly, but I want to start by asking a quick question and then telling a story. The question is, does anybody else in this room other than myself work in a library? Good, okay, several. How many, including the librarians, how many of you work on university campuses? A few more, okay, excellent. So if I had thought of it more than 10 minutes ago, I would have added another slide that said 3 words. 1, intelligence, 2, knowledge, and 3, sophistication. Our faculty on let me start with the story. I have become a fairly sophisticated recipient of robot-generated phone calls. As most of you know and have probably experienced, there is a growing number of phone calls that we get that sound like they are from people, but that are in fact from very, very sophisticated robot software. So my home line, my landline at our house rang the other day. That is a tip-off to me that there's a 30% chance that when I pick up the phone there will be a robot at the other end. And I picked up the phone and I said hello, and there was a pause. Now it's a 60% chance that it's a robot at the other end. And a woman's voice said to me, and my wife's name is Laura, a woman's voice said, "Hi, Laura?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you guys are so hard to get a hold of. I am so-and-so, and I'm calling from the blah, 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 cancer, blah, blah, blah." Now it's an 80% chance. Anybody who says cancer on the other end of the phone is some kind of a scam artist. Blah, 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 cancer, blah, 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 and then she went on and on and on in her spiel. And finally I interrupted her and I said, "I don't believe that you're a real person." Pause. "Oh, I am a live person reading from scripted responses." Bam, straight back into the spiel. I listened for a few more seconds, and then I said, "If you're a real person, tell me, are your toenails painted?" Pause. "We could talk about that all day, but we're not supposed to." Back into the spiel. So why do I want to talk about intelligence, knowledge, and sophistication? Now, please don't tweet that I'm saying this. I've learned the hard way to say, please don't tweet this on a regular basis. The faculty on our university campuses, those of us who work in libraries and or in academia, are typically very, very intelligent people, generally speaking. They are very, very knowledgeable in very particular areas. They are often not very sophisticated about things outside of their disciplines. It's not their job to be sophisticated about things outside of their disciplines. It's their job to have very deep, very narrow knowledge. As a result, they are unusually fertile targets for phishing, in my experience. Now, why should we care about this in libraries? Now, the strikeout on this title slide is a little bit snarky, I confess. And it arises from my deep frustration that in the world of libraries, and you can tweet this if you want, we do not care about this nearly enough. And in particular, the Sci-Hub situation has really brought this into sharp relief. A friend of mine who is a colleague who doesn't work in libraries, but who is an academic at a liberal arts college, when the Sci-Hub stuff started blowing up, she sent, and when it became clear that that Sci-Hub was acquiring network credentials by a combination of just asking for them and phishing for them, she sent some information about this to both the IT department and to the library. And what she told me was the IT department freaked out and the library never responded. Now, why should we care? There are 2 big reasons, in my view, why we in libraries should care about Sci-Hub and other bad actors. I mean, this isn't just about Sci-Hub. Other bad actors who are trying to get into our networks by stealing or otherwise acquiring fraudulent network security credentials. The first is that we in libraries are signatories to contracts that invariably require us to provide secure network protection to the content that we have licensed. Whether we like it or not, whether we want Elsevier to be profitable or not, whether we are copyleftists or copyrightists, it doesn't matter once you sign that contract. We are signatories to contracts that say we will take reasonable measures to prevent unauthorized users from getting access. Therefore, we need to care about cybersecurity to the degree that it has to do with people who do not have the right to get access. I'm losing the participle or the predicate of my sentence. To the degree that it has to do with unauthorized users gaining access to our networks, we as the signatories of those contracts had better care about it. Here's the other reason, and this is the one that really this is the one that I find, this is where I find it really baffling that we can't seem to get librarians and in many cases faculty to care. Once we give away our credentials, or once we wink at other people giving away their credentials, what we are winking at is anybody with whom Sci-Hub or whoever the bad actor is, anybody with whom they share those credentials now has the access to do any number of things that have to do with your personal information, your class information, your budgets, if you manage budgets, on any campus that uses single sign-on. And I haven't been able to find what the percentage of campuses is that uses single sign-on. I believe it's a very high percentage. It's certainly the case at my campus. I have what we call a UNID, a Utah Network ID, and a password. That password does not just get me into the Elsevier journals. It gets me into, for example, my tax documents. That is how I identify myself as the person who has the right to edit Rick Anderson's W-4 and other tax information. If I were teaching a course, that is the credential that I would use in order to assign students grades, in order to change the content of my course, in order to send emails in my name back and forth with my students and colleagues. If I manage a budget in my department or in the library, the way that I get in and get access to the dollars to move them around is with my unit and password. Email is in some ways the most scary aspect of this, because I sign into my email account using my unit and password, and it's not just that if I share that credential, somebody else can read my email. It's that they can send email, and when they do, it's from me. This is true for me, and it's true for all of the other 2,500 faculty members at the University of Utah. So this is the bottom line as far as I'm concerned. We in libraries have a tendency, I think, to wink at Sci-Hub, to say, oh, those crazy kids and their crazy copyleft shenanigans. Isn't Angela Elbakian cute in her windmill tilting? I mean, I've had people say things to me like, well, I don't approve of what she does, but I like her style. This is terrifying to me. This is not about access to content. I mean, yeah, to some degree it's about access to content. What's dangerous about this is about the access to everything else that we are messing around with. And so although I'm not speaking to a room full of librarians, I'm calling on my colleagues to take this problem more seriously and to do everything that we possibly can to help our faculty understand what they're messing around with when they mess around with their network credentials. Thanks.